Hello, and welcome to this video on fertility. The modern consensus in the media is that the Western world is doomed to a childless future where men can no longer produce sperm. At least that is the impression given by the headlines like this. Partisan authors present it as a crisis needing immediate intervention. The blame is given to everything under the sun: pesticides, obesity, diet, smoking, stress, the environment, lifestyle, and more. A key underlying meta-study is called the Temporal Trends in Sperm Count, a Systematic Review and Meta-Regression Analysis, by Professor Shana Swan and Company, 2017. To quote the expert opinion of Professor Sharp from The Independent, across Northern Europe today, more than 15% of young men had a sperm count low enough to impair their fertility, adding that this effect, when combined with the trend for women to have a baby in their 30s, created a double whammy for couple fertility in modern Western societies. To put this in context, sperm concentration went from about 99 million sperm per milliliter in 1970 to 47 million sperm per milliliter in 2010. The World Health Organization considers sperm concentration less than 15 million sperm per milliliter to be abnormally low. This means that over the last 40 years, it has still remained at greater than 3 times the minimum amount that is considered reasonable. Some of the proposed methodologies by both other experts, and prospectively those who are related to this study, is that a diet high in alcohol, caffeine, processed meat, soy, and potatoes may have had an adverse effect on male fertility. These are products that are a mainstay of the modern world. The methodology is relatively straightforward. They evaluated the literature for studies that covered fertility in males. They then found those that used reliable and acceptable methodologies to evaluate the amount of semen, and then they found that in this study there were 43,000 men in total accounted for by all of the work. They then plotted this on a regression analysis and looked at the results. The results show an average of roughly 1.4% a year in a decreasing trend of semen. This had an overall drop of between 52 and 60%. This leads to the claimed figure of 50% to 60% in sperm count in Western populations of publications. This was an ongoing trend and has not shown an indication of either leveling out or stopping. According to this study, there was an increasing proportion of men who had sperm counts below the threshold for fertility. The conclusions have 2 important parts. The first is the established decrease of between 50 and 60% in sperm count in the Western population. But the contrasting information is just as important. Non-Western populations did not show the same significance or any significance in the decrease in sperm. This covered populations in South America, Asia, and Africa. However, there were far fewer studies that were conducted in these regions, and even the article author states there wasn't enough data from non-Western countries to reach any conclusion about whether or not this was true. As can be imagined, this particular article has found some criticism from a number of areas, including at least one professor from the Hudson Institute of Medical Research in Australia, who said it was too soon to know if the fall in sperm count would be reflected in natural conception rates. A study published last fall looked at samples from just over 30,000 Chinese men, and they found that semen quality and sperm count in the men had declined over a 15-year period, and that this percentage of qualified donors fell from roughly 55% to 17% in that same time. A less significant decline in sperm concentration was observed since the 1970s in males that had successfully conceived with a partner, but there was no clear trend for the total sperm count associated with this successful group, as opposed to the overall population as observed in the first study. There is yet another study from the Danish, which focused on young men recruited for military service, and they found that there was no drop in sperm count in this population at all. They did note that the participants had poor sperm count in the first place, and that this may have an effect on the overall results. The final one was the possibility of seasonal effects, which may influence primate, and in this case human, fertility, and that through reproduction and its possible associated mediators, such as semen, that this may well have had an effect on the validity of each individual study, where this information was not provided. Looking through the comments section of each of the articles associated with this, there were a number of interesting observations made. One in particular seemed relevant, and that was the advent of boxer shorts, and if they had an effect on sperm count given they are far less constrictive. Similarly, academic criticisms have been strong with this kind of research in the past, as seen in this op-ed. Despite this overall drop over the 44 years, the average male is still well within healthy sperm count ranges. Considering that a previous study observed a similar drop of 50% between 1940 and 1990, this may not even be a novel development, and representative of another issue entirely. Thank you for watching this video. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions you may have below.